Coming up on our broadcast for tonight, college debt, a big problem in America. Could it be the next housing market crisis?
A local high school faces a huge controversy.
Following that is sports, the weather, and the world news. And
it all starts right now.
Straight from the Bulldog Studios at Bryant University, this is the Bryant News Broadcast. Featuring Todd Stewart, Sarah Larrabee, Nolan Thompson with the weather, Chad Sabo with sports, and Dana Arenik with the Bryant Update. This episode is brought to you by the Media Production Club.
In top headlines tonight, college debt. It's a major problem for many Americans where the cost of college is skyrocketing, and the increase of loans is causing a major hole in people's pockets. Student debt in the U.S. is now more than $1 trillion, surpassing all outstanding credit card debt as of right now in 2010. College seniors who graduated owed on average just over $25,000, which is a 5% increase from the previous year. Now to the parents. For those of you who take out loans for their children, you owe on average $34,000 after they graduate. The report says that these parental loans have increased 75% since 2005 and 2006. The major problem, the country faces a serious economic threat from this growing debt, one that could be identical to the mortgage meltdown.
Now in local news, last month a federal judge ruled that the mural that has hung in the Cranston West Auditorium for decades be removed because it violates the constitutional separation of church and state. The ruling followed a lawsuit filed by the Rhode Island chapter of the American Civil Liberties Union on behalf of an atheist student, Jessica Alquist. Now, in order for the city of Cranston to appeal the court ruling, it would cost taxpayers over $173,000, and the city had no choice but to admit defeat. Now, the student who filed the lawsuit is the benefactor to a $40,000 scholarship from the American Humanist Association for standing up to her critics with, quote, class and style. The controversy has city residents speaking out all over the web, and we will keep you updated as the situation unfolds. And now we're going to throw it over to Nolan with a look at this week's weather.
Thanks, Sarah. Well, as you can see from the radar right now, we are expecting some showers. They should be coming in tomorrow morning. And looking at the weekly forecast, you can also see we should be expecting some showers on Friday. They should be hanging around all day. Other than that, it's sunshine and moderate temperatures all the way through Wednesday, where there's a slight chance of showers then as well. Well, that's your weather this week. Now we're to Brian and Chad with sports.
Thanks, Nolan. In just under a month, one of my favorite sporting events will begin, March Madness. With most teams having 5 or less games to play in the regular season, this is when fans get to see who is hot and who is not. Frank Martin's Kansas State and company won 2 huge games over Big 12 rivals, 10-seeded Baylor and 3-seeded Missouri. On Tuesday night, top seed in the country, the Kentucky Wildcats, survived a scare against conference opponent Mississippi State. A huge surprise this year has come from the 13-seeded Michigan Wolverines, who are 21-7 overall and 11-4 in the Big Ten, just behind Ohio State and Michigan State. Will the defending champions, the UConn Huskies, even make the tourney? The Huskies need to win over Syracuse to really make a statement. But who will be this year's Cinderella? Who will be crowned champion? There is still a ways to go and many major games to be played, and the only thing I'm 100% about is that March Madness is just right around the corner.
A few years in the NBA, and LeBron James has been gone from being a class act to a flip-flopper. Reports have it that James is open to returning to Cleveland once his contract is up. Just as things are going right for James, he wants to go back to Cleveland? Will fans take him back? Not a chance in the world. You want to go back to Cleveland where fans just over a year ago were burning your jersey publicly on the streets? James has fallen short on not 1, not 2, not 3, but multiple championship promises. You made a decision to leave Cleveland, now stick to it. Selection Sunday is just a mere 3 weeks away, and then the crazy fun begins. Every year, billions are spent on betting in the NCAA tournament, and there are strong favorites to win the tournament this year, who is Kentucky and Syracuse. The hardest thing to do is predict the bracket busters, those pesky Cinderella mid-major teams. The one complaint, however, is the last 4 teams in the tournament. Someone gets snubbed, others are undeserved. Chad, who do you think the last 4 teams in this year are going to be?
Well, if I had to pick 4 teams right now, it would be Miami, Colorado State, Oregon, and Texas. For Miami, they're in the ACC, very tough conference. They're 7-6. Yeah, they had a huge win at Duke, and they have a huge game coming up against Florida State where they could really prove themselves. Colorado State out of the Mountain West are 17-9. Had huge couple wins over San Diego State and New Mexico. It'd be interesting to see what they could do. And Texas and Oregon can compete. So.
Chad, I like your pick with Miami there. It was a good one. They're also getting Reggie Johnson back, which should help them, the big man down low. Other teams I like are Butler, VCU, and Seton Hall. With Butler, you know, the past 2 years, they made big runs deep in the tournament. And once that time of year comes, Brad Stevens knows how to make a deep run into the tournament. Now that was sports. Back to you, Sarah and Todd.
Thanks, guys. Our next story, an environmental story that takes us to Alaska, where this abnormally warm weather and record-breaking highs has brought much joy to many Americans. But the high temperatures and unusual weather is causing major devastation to a valuable tree population. The yellow cedar, which lives for more than 1,000 years, is now in danger. The trees, which have an incredibly shallow root system, are becoming vulnerable. If the roots are not insulated by the snow on the ground, it can cause severe damage to the tree itself. This can cause major repercussions, considering yellow cedar is still valued very highly in the boat industry.
Well, if you have played a Powerball ticket lately, you might want to check your tickets. Last week, one lucky ticket holder hit the 6th largest jackpot in Powerball history, $336 million. The winning ticket was sold at the Stop and Shop grocery store on Bellevue Avenue in Newport. The winning numbers were 1, 10, 37, 52, and 57, and the Powerball was 11. To date, no winner has stepped forward, but they have 1 year to claim their prize. Now, as a bonus to the state of Rhode Island, the government is expected to collect over $12 million in taxes. And now here's Doug with a look at our world news for tonight.
Thank you very much, Sarah. My name is Doug Sieber, and here is your world news for the week. Tonight, sad news, as renowned American correspondent Marie Colvin was killed today as she was covering the continued bombardment by Syrian government forces on the rebel-held city of Homs. Colvin, along with French reporters Remy Ochlik and Edith Boivier, and English reporter Paul Conroy, were inside the house they were using as a media center, where, according to eyewitnesses, it was hit by a government-fired rocket and was then hit again as they were trying to escape. Both Colvin and Ochlik were killed, while Conroy and Boivier were only injured, though apparently Boivier is currently in critical condition. Colvin worked for the British Sunday Times, and both she and Ochlik were award-winning veteran war correspondents, covering stories from the Middle East, Africa, Asia, and elsewhere around the world. And in other news, the U.S. and North Korea will reopen nuclear discussions tomorrow that will hopefully provide insight into the direction of the nation following the death of its infamous leader, as well as test its readiness to dismantle its nuclear program in exchange for much-needed aid. Prior negotiations between the two nations, in which North Korea would theoretically suspend its uranium enrichment program in return for food shipments from the U.S., was shut down on December 17th when the nation's longtime leader, Kim Jong-il, died. The fact that North Korea has agreed to re-enter talks so soon afterwards could signal a measure of coercion and a continuation of the late Kim Jong-il's policies as the country transfers power to his young son, although stonewalling at this point could point to disagreements within the new leadership or unpredictable directions the government may be taking in its new policy. Well, that's all I have for tonight. I'll turn it right back over now to Todd and Sarah.
Well, that wraps up our broadcast for tonight. We thank you very much for sitting in and watching us. Have a great night.